Check, check, check.
Check, check, check.
Hey everybody, it's Rob. We're just about to get started with this week's episode. Less than 10 minutes left. While you got a couple of minutes here, why don't you go check out ODAnthem.com. It's where you can find everything OD Anthem, including the merch store, the podcast, and all of the videos. Open up a new tab.
Anchor.fm/ODAnthem is the place where you can get direct links to all the podcatchers you use to listen to our show every week.
Did you know we record every episode live on Facebook? Of course you do. But make sure that you're liking the page and turning on notifications so you get notified when we go live.
We make a ton of video content between the podcast, the short films, Heretics. YouTube.com/ODAnthem is the place for it all.
And of course you can find me on any social network at Robert N. Chief.
And me at LegendCB5.
And you can find the podcast at OD Anthem on all your social networks.
Sheer determination and force of will. She was in Harvard, where not many women were allowed, and they were all treated like second-class citizens, specifically told by the dean of Harvard that they were all taking the space of men who should have been there.
Yeah.
During an opening
dinner
that welcomed all those women to Harvard.
Did you ever watch Mrs. America?
No, but I heard about the
Phyllis Schlafly story.
Yeah.
Phyllis Schlafly always liked to say she went to Harvard, which is not true. She went to the sister college down the road because Harvard had a no women policy. And Ruth was one of very few women who said, no, I'm going to the actual Harvard. And the reason that Phyllis didn't is because she wanted to avoid that guilt trip of taking up a spot that a man could have taken up. And RBG was just like, I guess RB at that point was just like, no.
Yeah.
I'm going to Harvard. I'm taking up a spot that any person could have taken up. And if that boy was better than me, he'd be here. But he's not. I'm here. So,
but at the same time, her husband was going through cancer at the time, was it? I can't remember. Because I feel like it wasn't cancer. It was because that was more of a death sentence at the time.
Yeah, and he did have cancer later when she was
when
she was
arguing, he was very sick and unable to go to his classes.
Yes.
And she went to his classes, took care of him, took care of their child, and made the money to support the family.
Yep.
And you think you're busy.
That's a badass bitch.
Going to law class for two people and taking notes and helping him basically pass his law school experience because he's too sick to go.
Yeah, I chose a picture for you of her like ascending up to heaven. Yeah. But I thought we would be remiss without also a picture of Notorious RBG, of course. And that's how she started to get. I mean, she got that nickname later in life, but that's why she is who she is.
Yeah.
So,
and I sort of brought it up to you before. We kind of went back and forth on it, but she might have been the most important legal mind in feminist work, regardless of whether or not she got into the Supreme Court. Like if she wasn't elected to the Supreme Court, she would have had an incredible legacy regardless of it.
Well, you mentioned the three big cases, and that's because she took her first case up, and they said, all right, we're going to carve out an exception when she was asking for broad equalization. She was like,
Yes, Donald Trump and Joe Biden met for their first debate tonight, and honest to God, most of my reaction to this was like Trump was like Facebook come to life, and Joe Biden was me like getting into the comment section and then quickly realizing that no matter what I say, there's going to be some sort of ridiculous story as to why I'm wrong that I've never heard of, even though I'm very well connected to the news. Trump was just Facebook id, like out in the open tonight.
All id, just all id. Yeah, and I said it in the drop there for those of you who are hanging out, but it basically, if I want to see two old guys argue, I'll just go home for Thanksgiving. Like there was very little about that was truly a debate, because Trump would make a point, Biden would just come back at it and say, here's why you're wrong about it. And then Trump would be like, yeah, that's why your son's a sucker. And I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
Well, not only that, but there's no realistic way to imagine that Chris Wallace was going to have any kind of say as to how this debate was going to happen, because Trump just steamrolled everybody the entire time. Just throwing out lines to appease people who are already going to be voting for him. I'm just completely. I don't even know what to say about that. That was one of the. I've watched pretty much every single debate since I was aware of them, and this one was. It makes me disappointed as like an American. Like I feel like these two people can't even have a rational discourse without screaming at each other. And I mean, Joe held it in for the most part. He got. He threw in a couple things that I don't think he was planning on saying, like, you know, you're the worst president in American history. Like, that wasn't probably something he was just like, I can't wait to throw out this great line. But
no,
like,
it just came out.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I remember somebody in Trump debate team was saying, well, we don't really practice because what the president does is like jazz. Like, he just... He just figures it out when he's out there. And you could tell that Joe Biden spent a lot of time like going over the numbers and stuff like that. But there's no real defense for what Trump was doing. And your hope is that people who are undecided, I don't know who could possibly be undecided at this moment, but for the people who are undecided, they look at this and say, the president is unhinged. Like he just can't even like, he can't even follow like proper decorum. And, you know, like, I think Wallace was overwhelmingly fair to Trump throughout the course of this whole thing. And Trump was taking every opportunity to pick on him. And, like, it's just because he never gets real questions. He never has to, like, sit down with a reporter and, you know, like, the reporter has to worry about Trump walking out if they ask a question too tough, you know? Like, so what's in it for them?
That was the kind of the lead up. If anyone paid any attention to what happened before the debate, the news reporting before the debate, everyone was saying that like first term presidents do really poorly in the debates leading into their second term, because they spent 4 years basically being able to be like, nope, and just I'm going to walk out if I don't like it, or I don't feel like talking to the press today. Can you go out and talk to them, Caitlin McElhenny or whatever her name is? And I mean, Obama did that. And I was taken aback to Obama's 2012 first debate, where I remember watching that and being like, man, this dude is going to beat him. How did this happen? Where did we come from? What is his name?
Romney.
That Romney is going to outperform
Profile
the
and
great
courage,
debater.
Mitt Romney.
Yeah. How he's gonna outperform the great debater Obama. But then like he came out of the second debate and nailed it. The problem is I don't know that Trump has that kind of recovery. He's gonna watch this and get so angry that it's gonna just the id part of it is just gonna be exasperated for the next one. It's gonna be like, all right, you know what? I got away from my game plan. I just have to shout over him every time he tries to talk. That's the game plan. Let's go for it.
I'm just really worried that he is like he's going to get the blanket support of all the people who like him, because he said enough raw meat. This week on the the Anthem podcast, it's a pretty slow news week with not much going on except for the president is in the hospital with coronavirus. We'll get into that and all the details emerging from that. And if that wasn't bad enough, Trump is just having the worst week ever. Between the tax news, Melania, poll watchers, the debate, everything going on with that. We'll get into it all. Gay men taking over the Proud Boys hashtag. I love every single minute of it. Continue doing that. In addition, we'll talk about Breonna Taylor and a whole lot more. You don't want to miss it. It's loaded, packed, full show today. Come join us. Mike Kingdom for a Todd Gurley touchdown. This is Corey, and this is the Anthem podcast.
So topical. So that's going to last forever, Corey. Thank you.
President went to the hospital. Let's see what the Anthem boys have to say.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to episode 339 of the Anthem podcast. Coming to you from the hashtag OTA LA studios, high above the 110 freeway in downtown Los Angeles, California. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for listening to us on your podcatcher of choice. The easiest way to do it, anchor.fm/OTheAnthem. You can find the links to all the different places that we put our podcasts out at, whether it's Apple or Spotify or Google or anywhere. Go there, find it, be happy.
And you may notice, as I mentioned on Instagram, if you don't follow us on Instagram, at OTheAnthem, of course, I have nothing to do today.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Because we are welcoming Roberto, friend of the show, Roberto. He's acting as producer. We're going to try that out to see if I could stay more involved in the conversation. And we use more of the resources that we have, OBS and some images. So that'll be super fun.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, also, I want to say, I don't know how you guys do it. I got so distracted by my own beautiful eyes making the Instagram video that I stumbled through the whole thing. I was just like, I'm entranced by the eyes looking back. The Twitch, I don't even know. So, more on you. You guys get through this every single day. I don't know.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that we've gotten this long. So, right up the top, the president has coronavirus. Don't know if you guys are hearing it first here.
Corey.
Yeah.
It's in the house.
The White House.
The White House. Yeah. So, we've spent the last few months being told that it's not that big of a deal. Let's go see if we can recount. In February, it's the China virus. Don't worry about it. And if we remember Woodward's book, which we talked about in previous weeks, he knew it was going to be terrible, and he didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
In March, it was, this whole thing's going to blow over. It's going to get warm. It's going to be 11 cases down to 0. Don't worry about it. And if we remember from Woodward's book, he knew it was going to be terrible, and he did nothing about it. And then for the next few weeks, we've basically been saying, oh, it's not that bad. Don't worry about it. Oh, it's time to open up the economy again. Don't worry about staying in your homes. Don't worry about masks. Masks are dumb. In fact, just a few days ago, he made fun of Joe Biden for wearing a mask everywhere.
Biggest mask I've ever seen, I think is the quote.
And then we found out he had coronavirus.
Yes.
And then everyone who on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere on social media has been saying, run over the protesters if they're in the way. I'm glad RBG died. She can have her liberal opinions in hell. Coney Barret is going to be such a much better justice, blah, 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 is all of a sudden saying, hey, guys, hey, if you wish death on someone or sickness, what is wrong with you? Yeah. Proving that the hypocrisy is just everywhere. It doesn't matter. Everything about these people's life is hypocrisy.
I don't even know if it's like necessary. So the thing that has been sitting with me the most here is that as an American, I don't want the president to be sick. I think regardless of who the person is, the office is important to me, and that we keep certain things in place about how we maintain that office is important. And it's hard to separate those two things. Trump getting coronavirus and going to Walter Reed is karma. It is ironic. It is a lot of things.
It is
I
a
mean,
lot of things.
it could literally go in Alanis Morissette ironic, and it would fit in perfectly. And
I'm feeling a parody. Corey, I'm feeling a parody coming on for
God.
you. Here you go. You think you can pull off Alanis Morissette?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't.
You did a fine job with Bieber.
I don't think I could pull off anything anymore. Never has something so karmic happened in this regard. I think that's why a lot of people are immediately going to the humor of it all, because it's funny. I mean, it's not funny that the president is in this position, but it's funny that Trump specifically is, because it's like, if Obama was in Walter Reed because he got hit by a drone strike, we'd be like, wow, that's ironic.
Yeah.
It's not. It's when you constantly condemn the coronavirus, or like say like, it's not real, and it's just going to go away, and all these things, and making fun of masks, and you're having events where people are packed together without masks on and congregating, and a couple of these events have been proven to spike cases in
Super
the area.
spreader events. Yeah.
Like in Tulsa it happened.
Oh,
Herman Cain died.
I was going to say one of your strong supporters dies because of they exposed it.
I just anyone who thinks that Trump is going to come out of here and be like, guys, I had no idea, and now I'm going to fight so hard for everybody. Like there's no ghost of Christmas past who's going to come back and make Trump like suddenly change his mind on this. And in fact, he released videos right after he got out of the hospital where he's saying, like, it's not that big of a deal, just push on. Like, I got through it too. But the other very troubling part of this is that we don't know a whole lot about exactly what happened during that time. And
what will happen. It lasts 10 days. So.
I mean, the doctor who keeps going out and giving press conferences and not answering questions and calling in to HIPAA and saying that there's, reasons why he can't talk about this stuff. It's like, these rules don't, when Reagan got shot, the press was outside the hospital 24/7. Anytime anyone had, Reagan coughed and he said it didn't hurt. Like, that would be relayed to the news, and then Cronkite would break in with the the president coughed and it didn't hurt. Like, all these things were important. Like, and Trump could have totally not taken advantage of this situation, but effectively put out made it seem like we couldn't trust anybody. That was part of the problem, because we had been lied to so thoroughly, and even the doctors started lying to us. And we have when Mitch McConnell lies, sometimes you don't notice it because that's all he does.
Yeah.
So, when the doctor lies to you, and you can tell that he doesn't normally lie.
He's bad at it?
Yeah, he's bad at it. So,
well, and I was going to say
there's a lot of, I don't want to talk about the things I'm going to put in my book. Do you mind?
To the people who say that Trump doesn't have COVID and that this is a huge conspiracy for him to get sympathy and to change the narrative, he did a really terrible job of doing that, if that's what it is. Basically, it's like, oh, he's lying to us about something different now, not we all need to rally around this. I am your president, and I am going to help us defeat this thing. And we got none of that.
But it's even beyond, as a president, you get the best health care in the world.
Oh, I was going to mention that too, by the way. You'll be fine, all of you Trump supporters out there, if you have socialized medicine, which Trump does, that he didn't pay for, by the way, because he paid $750 in taxes in the last few years. Also, if you have a $200 million suite with 10 doctors, I think they said, at any one time, waiting on you, then you're going to get through it just fine.
And you're getting experimental treatments, and you're getting steroids, and
for the 20,000 people who died in the hallway of a hospital earlier this year, coughing and choking to death, it wasn't fine for them. So
if you listen to the public statements, though, from the doctors, from the White House, all along the lines, the ones that weren't off the record and then later on the record, there was a lot of, Trump's great. It was he had we just wanted to monitor things, so he went to Walter Reed for a little while, no big deal. He'll be back in a couple days. It'll be fine. And then hearing no, it's really touch and go right now.
He was on oxygen for a couple
He was on
times.
oxygen. And it's they were asking specific. Sometimes I think about the West Wing, because even regardless of what you thought about the politics of Bartlett or the politics of the writing staff of the West Wing and stuff like that,
communist.
It was a good example of what these real life situations would be like. they took from Bartlett shooting a lot of the things that happened at Reagan shooting.
Yeah.
And a lot of the same procedures and discussions that happened with Secret Service and everything that went along with it to help inform the audience. This is what would happen if the president was shot, right? And it's so difficult to watch these press conferences where they're just like, did the president's blood oxygen level ever drop below 94? And it's just like, I can't answer that. And it's like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, tell us the basic, because you know what, if you're going to go on Facebook and say like, it's really obscene for you people to be dancing on Trump's like, you know, coronavirus,
Not grave, but
like, yeah, not grave, but like the fact that he's sick, you're so awful for doing this and stuff like that. But he's awful too. Like,
yeah.
His actions are causing a lot of these troubles that we're feeling all over the country. And not everyone gets great medical care. And some people die alone, not being able to see their families again, locked away in a coronavirus ward to die by themselves. And even the people who are perfectly fine and live to tell the tale, and maybe they go to the hospital and get oxygen or something like that. You know, they might be bankrupt now. They might not be able to get an apartment or a job or, you know, a whole bunch of other things that would help let their lives move on a little bit.
Well, I want to get into that. Let's hold off on that. We'll get to that a little later.
Okay.
I do want to say that I think that it's especially ironic, and I want people to understand that my humor is not because the president is sick. I agree with you on that. The president is the office.
Right.
I just put myself in the position of knowing Hillary won the popular vote, and if she had also won the electoral vote, that Trump would not have shut up. It would have been the same tweets, just not from President Trump, from Citizen Trump.
Yeah.
We'd probably still have rallies because it would be, until they lock her up, I'm going to run every single time until they lock her up. Maybe not.
I mean, he'd probably just have bought OAN and then had some sort of live performance aspect to it.
Yeah, built a cult of personality around himself. And if he did that, when he would have done that, because he absolutely would have, when he got sick, it would still be funny. It's the irony of the man who acts that way.
It's the irony of Donald Trump.
Yes.
It's just, you know, like anytime one of these people are just like, you know, like, oh, coronavirus is a hoax, and then they get coronavirus. Yeah. Like, it's
and
just
start deleting the old tweets. Like,
it's ironic. It's ironic. That's the best word for it. It's just hard to fathom. Like, the part that confuses me is that, like, I don't feel like any of the Trump people have decided that they're going to start wearing masks in the last couple days. Like,
oh, well, let's discuss.
I would imagine that if, like, you know, if somebody important to me all of a sudden got sick and I was, you know, a little flagrant about the mask use, then I would probably start using it a lot. Like, well, it's different when you know people who get sick. That's a big part of this.
Let's talk about that spread. So it didn't start with Trump, obviously. Somebody had to bring it to him. And from what we can glean now, Hope Hicks is the patient 1, not patient 0, but the patient 1 in the West Wing. She contracted it from somewhere, ? From someone, ? Maybe in the West Wing, maybe outside. Maybe she likes to go to bars and restaurants in her off time. Maybe she invites friends over who like to go to bars and restaurants and somehow got infected.
Let's not forget that before Trump, before we really knew about the Hope Hicks thing, he also threw the military and police under the bus.
Oh, yeah.
Saying that we're at these events and the police and the military are so, like, happy to see us and they can't stop coming up and hugging and kissing us. So I'm sure we got it from one of them. Like, it's like, I'm sure she got it from one of them. And then it was like wait a minute. So Hope Hicks, who's constantly near the president, not wearing a mask, flying on Air Force One, nobody's wearing masks around them. They're all grouped together.
Yep.
Like, is the president sick? And then it's like, we'll let you know. It's been an hour since that test. We don't know yet. So just hang tight.
Wait, doesn't he have the instant test? Doesn't he take the instant test?
No, hold on tight. Like 10 minutes. And I mean, like, I'm glad that, like, Joe Biden is been clean so far because
and by the way,
apparently there's a chance that Trump had it at the debate.
Yes. There is very much a chance that he was in his pre-symptomatic but viral shedding phase.
Yeah. Prior to the test results being able to prove anything.
Yeah. And Also, Joe Biden, being the anti-Trump that he is, basically said, every time I take a test, you're going to know about it, and you're going to know the results. Instant test, long-term test, which apparently they're doing before every event. He does an instant test, and then at least once a day he does the tomorrow we'll get the result test, which is way more reliable than the instant test. But I
mean, like, test reliability just in general is down regardless of whether or not.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, it's not a perfect.
It's honestly, it's one of those things where if you get a positive, you're likely positive, but a negative doesn't mean you're okay. That's essentially where we are now, which is why the reaction that we had from the president's people was like, well, you got a positive on the instant test, but then we did the other test, and that's what we're going to wait before we say positive. We're going to wait and make sure. But it started with Hope Hicks, and likely then spread, and at least the news, not necessarily the actual spread, but the news went Hope Hicks. And then from Hope Hicks on Air Force One, likely, or Marine 2, or Marine 1, or the presidential limo, all of which are hermetically sealed vehicles, which the president travels with no mask, and all of his friends. And also, the people who work for him.
Well, I mean, speaking of all his friends and all the people who work for him, there was a event in the Rose Garden to celebrate Amy Coney Barrett becoming the new Supreme Court nominee. And fucking 8 people got sick from that event, including 3 senators who sit on judiciary.
7 or 8 people that we know of.
Yeah, so far. Yeah, that we're aware of as of this moment. It is.
It's what you call a super spreader event? I think we should call it. Remember in the 1920s when a bunch of poor people lost their houses and they built lean-tos in a park?
Yeah.
We called it a Hooverville.
Yeah.
Because Hoover was the president.
Right.
And they named it after him. I think we should stop calling them super spreader events and call them Trump rallies. And anytime you have an event where more than 5 people contract the coronavirus, just call it a Trump rally.
We had a wedding Trump rally this weekend and 8 people got sick with coronavirus.
I mean,
it's an idea.
Name it after the person who's to blame. And one of those people from the Rose Garden, or possibly before, I mean, who knows, was Kayleigh McEnany, whose name I cannot pronounce for the life of me. It's one of those things that, like, my grandmother's name is Rosie. She was not born Rosie Cheek. She chose to marry a man whose last name was Cheek.
That's love right there.
And I look at Kayleigh McEnany, and I said, how much did you have to love that guy? Or how rich did that guy have to be for her to marry him to take on the name Kayleigh McEnany, which is probably the most irresponsible set of consonants in a row that you could possibly have. But Kayleigh McEnany is also sick. And because, Trump, she went out on Sunday after she had her positive test result and wearing a mask, which was a change.
Yeah.
But then took it off.
Them all of a sudden wearing masks was a big change at the White House.
Yeah, everybody's wearing masks. It's weird. And working from home. Who knew?
Right.
But then took it off to talk to the press in a gaggle where they just basically... And I watched a video of it where she kept stepping forward to listen to questions. Yeah. And everybody kept stepping back. It was like she was walking them around the little patio area. It was super fun. But 11 people essentially have it from that event or something coming in contact with Trump in the days beforehand. Chris Christie is one of those people. A couple of senators have it, including Mike Lee. Mm-hmm. Mike Lee apparently met with Trump and then went and met with the majority leadership of the Senate. So, because Mitch McConnell's real old. I got hope. And here's the thing. I don't wish harm on the majority leader of the Senate.
Right.
I wish harm on the turtle man who won't do shit for the country and who Kentucky can't seem to find the gall to get rid of.
It's funny that I'm trying to figure out a way to live on $130 a week.
Yeah.
And we're trying to shove a Supreme Court justice through.
Yeah. Priorities, Corey.
Also, Kent, a couple things from the chat here. Mm-hmm. What do you call 5 or more people who burn businesses? I don't know. Democratic rally, I assume, is going to be the joke there. It's pronounced Sleepy Joe Biden. And maybe Nancy Pelosi, or maybe Nancy Pelosi likes to go to salons. Like, all these are kind of...
that's what we call the whatabouts.
Yeah.
It's my guy is so flawed, I need to go find something from your people to make a whatabout about.
Trump literally had, was it $75,000 in hair care that he wrote off on his taxes?
70.
I mean, like
that's only 10 times what he's
and
paid
you know
in
what?
taxes.
Again, like we're going to talk a little bit about
wait,
Joe
no,
the
I'm sorry.
centrist here coming up, but
10,000. It's 10,000
fuck
times
all
what
of
he paid in
them.
taxes.
That's basically how you get to the bottom of this. Like it. Yes, I'll say fuck Trump, but I'm also going to say fuck Nancy Pelosi.
Oh yeah, fuck her too.
And I'll say fuck Mitch McConnell.
Yep.
And I'll say fuck Chuck Schumer.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter whether or not these people are Republicans or Democrats. I would love to vote for somebody who isn't Joe Biden.
Oh, absolutely.
The problem is that the only other reasonable option that could win is Trump. And, who would you rather babysit your kids? This person who's been babysitting all their life or this cougar? Like, it's not a...
No.
What's really getting to me is like the fucking language that is being used and like the alternate storytelling that is out there on like Fox and these stations and on like right-wing Facebook and stuff like that. Like, to most people, Peter Strzok is some sort of like, random name that sort of gets brought up in the fact that he investigated Hillary and Russia.
Yeah.
When he worked at the FBI, and he had an extramarital affair with another girl who worked at the FBI, or was a lawyer for the FBI or something like that, right? And for most people, that's like, oh, okay, well, he worked this place, and he also had a extramarital affair. That sucks.
He was
but
probably
like
working 12-hour days and slept with a chick in his office. All right.
but like, if you watch, like, if you go on Facebook or something like that, like, I'm sure if we just typed in Peter Strzok, like, on Twitter, at any moment of the day, somebody's like, well, right now he's planning his cabal of Democrats to come and give COVID to all the people who were not tested positive at this event. And, like they're coming up with these wild, like, stories that are just like...
Yeah.
Like Kim Davis was back in the news. Come on, 2020. The cameos are out of the door. Like we're going everywhere here. Like
I thought the writers had pulled it back in.
How many wordless characters do we need to bring back? We don't need Poochie back. All right, like we're good.
Scaramucci was back in the news, by the way.
Scaramucci hasn't left. He's just on like CNN every once in a while.
Yeah,
like.
I saw him on CNN, and I was like, "When's the last time I saw you, dude?" And it's like, "So what do you think about honesty in the White House?" He's like, "Ah," and I'm like, "Why would you even ask the question?"
He had 40. He had 40 days in the, or was it like a weekend in the White House or something like that? How long was his day as a?
His was super short. It was literally like a week and a half. Maybe,
it wasn't even a Harrison. It was just a.
Yeah, no, not even. But
it was a fortnight, perhaps.
I think what it comes down to for everyone out there, I want people to understand, if you know me on Facebook, you don't have to tell me. I don't want to vote for Joe Biden. But who else?
Yeah.
You use the example of a cougar and a babysitter.
Yeah.
I mean, cougar's a little much. Would you prefer this one-star babysitter from babysitters.com or this serial killer? They're both human. They both are terrible at watching kids. One of them is marginally better.
One of them has been vetted at least a little bit by babysitters.com.
Also, one of them has not led to the death of 200,000 people in a preventable way.
Yeah.
Now, would he have done that? I don't know.
I mean,
I would like to think no, but who knows?
We circle around again to this point every once in a while, which is that something could have been done from the very beginning to make this not such a fucking clusterfuck. And we could have, like, look around the world. You know, Europe right now is sort of going through their second wave.
Yep.
So that's not a great example. But before the second wave hit Europe, they were more or less back to normal.
Back to normal.
Their stores were open. Their lives were back to a relative level of comfort. They were all wearing masks. They were all doing what they could to distance. And, you know, in most of the world, they figured this out. Like, you know, Korea was playing baseball when
South Korea?
when they were still arguing about whether or not we could do it here. Like, and it looked like the season was going to be canceled. Like,
yep.
It's just, if we all would have just started wearing masks when this whole thing started. Now, I know there was kind of this, do we tell everyone to go buy masks because then everyone's going to buy masks and then the nurses and doctors can't have it?
Yeah.
So there's that part of the problem.
Oh,
but like,
how about the U.S. Postal Service was
I feel like the
send
face
masks?
covering would have been like,
Yeah.
you know, just like literally for, you know, the first couple times I went out in the Corona era, I was just wearing the bandana across my face.
Yep.
And this is because I couldn't go buy a mask somewhere because they were all sold out because, you know, healthcare were trying to get it. And I respected that. And I didn't want to try and buy a mask and stuff like that.
I bought a gas mask.
But like, yeah, I mean, like, it's just, Yeah, it had to do something, it felt like. And
but the Postal Service was going to send a box with some disinfecting wipes and a face covering, a thick cotton face covering to every house in America. And the president said, no, that might panic people. The same way he said, well, we can't talk about it really because it'll panic people. And then did absolutely nothing about it.
Well, they were also sitting on a bunch of tests for a long time, too, where they bought tests and then they were just like, they did it for like a photo op or something like that. And then they were supposed to get them out to people and they never did.
Never did.
Like,
but listen, I said when George W. Bush, the Republican, was in office, I said bring out the guillotines. When Barack Obama was in office, I took maybe a 2-year hiatus to say, let's see what we can do with the hope and change. And then I said, let's bring out the guillotines. And now that Trump's been in office, and I believe I promised during 2016, if Hillary got in office, I would say bring out the guillotines.
Yeah.
And now Trump's in office, and I'm saying bring out the guillotines. And I'm telling you, when Joe Biden gets in office, I will not say any less, bring out the guillotines, because he's not what we want either.
The system is at the part where, and guess what? Just for people who history escapes them beyond the 1900s and above kind of thing.
Yeah.
Democracies don't usually last that long.
No.
Just generally speaking.
Yeah.
About 250 years is where most of them start to peter out. And
top of a limit. Yep.
That's about where we are right now. So
and 250 years is a long republic.
Yeah.
Republics usually fall way before that, and then fascism comes in, and then they replace it with a leftist movement, which then becomes centrist and establishes democracy. And then democracy falls to fascism again. Then the leftists come in and save it again, and then they establish democracy.
Yeah.
And democracy falls to fascism. So we're in that phase right between where the democracy falls to fascism yet again.
Yeah.
With the Nazis walking in the street and the president saying, stand by, stand back. That whole shenanigans. That's where.
And I'd also like to. One other thing I forgot to mention earlier when people were talking about oh well, regardless of your party, you need to be okay. You need to be in support of the president right now.
Yeah.
I can think of another time where that wouldn't have been the case, and that was Lincoln, when half the country didn't want to be part of the country, and Lincoln was trying to bring them together. I'm sure there's a lot of people in the South who were fine with Lincoln not being alive, or Lincoln falling to some sort of despair.
Or 2010, where Obama wore a tan suit, and they were not okay with that. And they wanted to,
clearly. I don't know why more states didn't succeed at them.
I mean, honestly, I am still pushing for secession for California. I still think it's the way to go.
Yeah, Cal exit.
We got to get it back on the ballot. But I'm going to make an admission of something I did today. Mm-hmm. I ordered my absentee ballot from Maryland today.
What?
And I'm going to tell you why I did that, Corey. Because someone finally made an argument that impressed it upon me. And it was the guys from Stuff You Should Know. I don't know if you listen to that podcast.
I used to every once in a while. But
it's very interesting. I think it's the high-budget version of Rob Explains, my trivia podcast. But they said you should go out and vote, not because of you, but because there are 100 million people who are too young to vote, but our decisions will impact them. Now, I believe my position in 2016 was we should vote Trump in because he's going to push us to civil war. And then that's eventually the goal that I'd like to see. And it's funny because we voted Trump in and then he pushed us to civil war, which is kind of what I wanted. But in the intervening 4 years, my sister decided to go and give me a nephew. And now I'm like, maybe violence in the streets that involves a person who looks like someone that people who look like me might want to kill isn't ideal, let's say.
Maybe.
Maybe not. So
I would have just started at the violence in the streets. That's probably...
I'm not willing to go that far, all right? Again, guillotines since 2000. That's where we are.
I always thought of the guillotines as more of a esoteric thought.
No, literal guillotines. I always think of literal guillotines. But so, just to be clear, I am not casting a vote in this election. And I don't know for sure that I will actually cast that absentee ballot, but I ordered it to make sure I had it in case I choose to. But if I do choose to, it is not for me that I am casting that vote. It is for my nephew, because if we have 4 more years of this guy as president, I am not sure there will be a country for him to grow up into. And I'm not sure that roving bands of people who look like me will not go hunting children who look like him and do terrible... it's something that's not even on the agenda, but I think of. They are doing mass hysterectomies in camps in the United States.
Yeah.
Not World War I, not World War II, not Native Americans back in the 1800s. Today.
Yeah.
Like, not just in the past few weeks, like continuing. The news broke a week ago. It's still happening today.
Yeah.
They are still doing it. That is Nazi shit.
It is.
That is what the Nazis did. Put them in camps, make them unable to reproduce children, and then wait for them to die. And that looks a lot like what we're doing now. And while I am okay with ending up in a camp for the rest of my life because of the things I say, I am not willing for people I know to end up in a camp because of how they look or who they are.
Well, let me put it this another way, because there are a lot of things that are on the ballot that people might not necessarily be aware of, and I mean, like Amy Coney Barrett's nomination has woken up Scalia and Thomas to really try and push the idea that they will actively try and overturn
Roberts and Thomas.
No, it's Scalia. Or not Scalia. Alito. Sorry.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, it ain't Scalia unless like Herman Cain.
He's having Herman Cain tweet storms from the grave. By the
way, I said good things about Scalia dying. So what do you expect from me, Facebook? Come on. I was happy he died.
So think about it this way. Much like Rob, I'm sure all of you people who listen to the sound of my voice have somebody that you love, right? And somebody that you care for. And maybe they would love to know that you would vote to protect them. And if there is a war against like gay marriage effectively on the ballot because Amy Coney Barrett is now up for Supreme Court.
That's not on the ballot. That's going to be handled before the election, Corey.
I'm saying I'm going to do what I can to help my friends in the gay community because they have been at a long struggling fight to get just the base levels of fairness, and that doesn't change for that's the same across a bunch of different communities. Like RBG dying has a profound impact on women's rights.
Yep. Because
Roe might be overturned.
Yep.
And I don't know, maybe in 20 years, I have a daughter who is getting pregnant at some, like band camp or whatever. And now abortion is illegal and things significantly change in her life because of a moment like that.
Yeah.
And there's more than just Joe Biden or Donald Trump that we're voting for right here. And I can't in good conscience think about anybody losing anything at a time like this. Like if any, we are constantly, I think as a nation, trying to push, at least part of the nation, trying to push for better things, for more equality, for more freedom, for more so that you don't have to worry about if you just happen to be born gay or a woman or black or anything like that. Because just the odds of you being a person, of not being like, an amoeba or something like that, is in terms of like all the living things that you could possibly be on this world, the fact that you're a person and the fact that you are a person who was born in America as opposed to, like India, or like somewhere really like, where it's not the same thing and you don't have the same level of, North Korea or any kind of different restriction from where you are currently. Like all these things really matter, and we need to be thinking about, the people who are not even necessarily with us right now. Like we got to vote for the people who will be with, it's voting for what's right. And, believe me, I wish it wasn't Joe Biden. I wish it wasn't Joe Biden. I didn't want it to be Hillary either. And the reason why I said I didn't want it to be Hillary in the 2016 election was not because, I was going to secretly vote for her anyway or something like that. It was because I didn't think enough people were going to come on board to vote for her. And that is why I didn't want her to run.
And it turns out you were right.
Yeah,
she won the popular vote, but not in the places she needed to, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, and I mean, again, there's if she ran her campaign effectively and it did any kind of work to keep the blue wall that she had going on in the Northeast.
Yep.
It's the fact that she lost Michigan and Wisconsin by so little is a real stab in the back to her, because I imagine that she thought she had that locked up. It's like losing Maryland. If she lost Maryland, she'd just be like, what did I do wrong? I did everything. But yeah, there was a couple. We sort of went all over the place here. Was there anything else from the COVID or worst week ever that you wanted to?
Well, I just wanted to address, I don't know if there's anything more in the chat, but to the folks in the chat or the people who might be thinking that they think like the people who are in our chat, the whatabouters, I find that more often than not, the whatabouters are white folks, generally white men, but also white women.
Mm-hmm.
And I think your point is apt, and they should think about that. That do you, as a cis, meaning a heterosexual white person, you have absolutely nothing to lose. And if I don't know that you have friends who are people of color, I don't know that you have friends who are of a different gender than you are, if you're a man or a woman, either way, or that are a different sexual orientation than you. But imagine that they stood in front of you and you essentially had to tell them, you don't matter, or you matter less than I do.
Yeah.
Your vote for this president is saying that, because you can't say that he doesn't think that Roe versus Wade should be rolled back, or that he doesn't think that, damn it, Alito was talking about that marriage equality shouldn't be rolled back, because he nominated someone to this court trying to force through another justice before the election so those things can be accomplished. So if you have people in your life who are gay, people of color in your life, or anyone who is of a marginalized community, I want you to think about walking up to them and telling them, fuck you, you don't matter, or at least you matter less than me. It's more important that I stay on top than you have anything at all. Because that is what your vote for Trump is telling them. Because
well, and
this is who we are.
Or literally think about it like, imagine that there was a crusade against blonde people, right? Like, it's arbitrary, it's whatever, and you just happen to be born blonde. Like, oh, I have brown hair, I don't have to worry about this. They're never going to come for me.
Good.
Like,
yeah,
sure,
lucky.
but do you know anybody? Like literally anybody?
And by the way, Trump, who is a teetotaler, who has never done a wrong thing in his life except for cheated on all of his wives with the one he married next.
I mean, there's questionable choices of behavior, but not anything.
A lot of questionable choices. In that debate from last Thursday, came after Joe Biden, meaning to come after Beau, but actually going after Hunter, his other son, because he doesn't, realize that there are two different people, I guess. Mm-hmm. But saying a kid who saw his mother and his little sister die in a car accident, recovered from that car accident, and then fought against addiction and beat it and has become a productive member of society, he chose to go after that person.
Yeah.
So the man who you make a hero is the one who says that soldiers are suckers, that people who die in war, he doesn't understand what it's there for. That
what's in it for them? Yeah.
What's in it for them? People who overcome addiction are essentially worthless because they became addicted in the first place. That war hero. I mean, Beau Biden's thing. I don't even.
Well, he was like, I don't even know Beau, so I'm not talking about
Beau.
I'm talking about Hunter. Like
multiple things, but that people of color are less
how many,
than.
Let me put it this way. Let me put it in another way. I think people know people who have dealt with tragedy before. Hunter Biden, despite whatever you may think about him based off of what Tucker's saying tonight. I don't keep up on
and
the.
Fuck your bow tie, Tucker.
I don't keep. He's not doing the bow tie anymore. That's been a long gone thing. I think.
No, I don't watch Fox News. So.
I just see the clips when people share it, and he's just like, "Oh, what's wrong about Nazis?" So
that's why I don't watch it.
Shit. What was I? Oh, Hunter Biden. Yeah, I have known people who've lost like family members and stuff like that, and to say that if they have a normal life after those moments, it's kind of like they do a lot to try and like mask it and like push through. It's a lot of work if like your mom and your sister die in a car accident or something like that.
In a car you were in.
Yes.
And you survived.
And your brother and it's you carry that, and I think people will, if Hunter Biden or Joe Biden weren't political figures, if Hunter Biden was just some guy who got arrested for a DUI, I could see the world in which he would walk up to the judge and he would say, "Listen, Your Honor, I'm not trying to make excuses for myself, but I've had a very rough couple years because I was in a car accident where my mom and sister died, and I've turned to alcohol, but I'm trying to make amends and change my life, and I'm trying to get straight, and this was an awful error in judgment, and I will never do it again, and please show mercy on me." a normal person sitting in the courtroom who doesn't know this person would say, like, I think he deserves another shot.
Yep.
You know, like,
and also Hunter then went out and improved parts of the world and is improving life for other Americans on top of the like mea culpa. I'm also going to go out and do good work for the rest of my life.
You know, the fact that people would be less likely to say, oh, we should give him another chance if Hunter Biden was black.
Oh, well, 100%.
I think,
yeah.
Like, well, you know, this drug addict is just going to do it again. I don't see why we have to give him another chance. He's just going to go back out there and cause crime and mayhem.
Offenders reoffend.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, like, have you ever met anyone who isn't a white male? Because those are the only people who are being, you know, protected by this continued assault on what we're trying to do here as a country.
Well, unfortunately, some of those people don't meet or talk to anyone who isn't also a white male.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
I mean, like, but a sister or a wife or a, like I just can't.
Well, maybe they belong to the same church as Coney Barrett. And women are there, yeah, but they're there to be subservient to the men. By the way, are they going to call her husband since her husband gets to be the decision maker?
Oh, whether or not she gets to serve?
Yeah.
Are they going to get his permission first?
I mean, I feel like they should get his permission, and also...
I feel like that happened a little while ago, like behind closed doors.
Okay.
Like McConnell was just like, I'm going to do it. Is it okay? And it's just like, yeah, I'll let her do it.
But shouldn't the Senate vet him too? Because is there a chance she goes home after hearing oral arguments and then says, honey, here's what the evidence is. What do you think? What should I do?
Maybe you should call on God.
I mean, if she's hearing God, there's a whole
No, I'm saying,
other-
like, if she's going to, like, go home and read the Bible or something like that, maybe you call on God.
Oh, I mean...
Maybe that's a delaying tactic where it's like Schumer's like, we're not doing this until God speaks.
She said she hears the voice of God guiding her. I feel like I need to get this God
I
in
need
here.
to hear this God fellow. If we don't have his testimony this weekend, then we can't go forward with the confirmation.
Listen, Corey, Schumer's Jewish. Do you want a crystal knock? Because that's how you get a crystal knock. Bunch of Proud Boys breaking up Jewish stores in New York. That's how that's going to happen. I mean, and by Proud Boys, of course, I mean the hate group, not, you know,
what all the wonderful gay men are doing.
Gay guys in the West Village who are now taking on the status of Proud Boys, which I appreciate.
I do too. You know what? And I think that what's great about this is that in a real way, when Proud Boys got mentioned on a debate stage where 80 million people were watching, it elevated them to a place where they are now as good as the KKK in the minds of a lot of people. Like, how many, you know, for a normal person, you just stop on the street, some 60-year-old lady, go like, how many hate groups can you name? She might be like, oh, KKK, Nazis, Proud Boys. Like, that might be the top 3 now of people of the Family Feud board. That is, you know, how many hate groups can you mention? Like, it's
surveys.
Steve Harvey, like, just, Nazis. Just shaking his head in disapproval, because that's all I think Family Feud is these days. It's just getting Steve Harvey to have that like horse face, like, whoa.
All right,
let's see what's on the board. Yeah, I'm very happy that this is happening, because it's going to be harder for the actual Proud Boys to continue on with this name and this ideology, and they're going to have to come up with something else. And hopefully in the transition between what they were before and what they will be at one point, and I'm sure it'll splinter into 18 separate hate groups like it always does, they'll at least have to give this up, and it'll be harder for them to find new people. Well,
also,
and, like,
I think the Proud Boys
recruit on it, you know?
Proud Boys have an advantage that the KKK doesn't, which is they have a one drop essentially admittance policy, which is you don't have to be all white to be part of the Proud Boys. You have to be at least partially white to prove your whiteness. Yeah. And you have to believe that the white part of you is better than the rest of you.
Well, some spokesman for the Proud Boys that I saw in some article recently was like, you know, like, I'm Puerto Rican.
Yes.
Like, why would I be in a hate group? And it's just like,
So, and I believe that's the same guy who's been marching in Portland for some time.
I think so, yeah.
One of his grandfathers is white, so despite the fact that of his lineage, he is 1/8 white, 7/8 Hispanic. He is allowed in the Proud Boys because he can trace his lineage back to a white man. So,
well, and I'm sure the Proud Boys like the fact that if he's willing to be there, then
There you go.
It's a real Clayton Bigsby situation.
It is a real Clayton Bigsby situation. And in the end, Gavin McInnes, who is the guy who started the Proud Boys, is an avowed racist, a former member of the neo-Nazis who split off from them because they were not extreme enough for him. But he's also advantageous enough to say, well, I mean, if the Puerto Rican wants to come out here and dance for us, I'll let him come out here and dance for us. You guys got any black guys out here who want to come out and dance for us too? I'd love to have them come out and dance for us as well. And then they go and do it, which is the surprising part for me, that like, this is the guy. But because those guys don't talk to Gavin McInnes. He goes on Rogan and gets treated like a damn king. And also makes me think Joe Rogan's a little bit of a racist. Or a lot of bit of a racist. But nonetheless, I think you're right that now if they have to change the name and Gavin McInnes becomes more public and like, oh, yes, sir, this is, I don't know what that guy's name is, but I just know he marches in Portland. He's always in front. And whoever's there who's white who leads it is like, go get Jose. Bring Jose up here. And, like, he's always up front right next to the guy. Yeah. Then they're going to be like, all right, well, so Gavin.
Well, I mean, it's like, all the word that came out from the Proud Boys afterwards was just like, we're just a social drinking club, not a hate organization. I don't know why we're getting so much attention. It's just like, just because you meet at bars doesn't mean you're just a drinking organization. Like,
and that's because if we go back to Gavin McInnes' writings from the 90s where he's just like, white men are superior. We will allow other men of other races to be in our presence so long as they accept white men's superiority over them. That could be really taken out of context. I hope people don't edit that out. But if they have to come out and say, here are the bylaws of the new group, the Prouder Boys, that brings McInnes back into the forefront, and I think then they risk losing and splintering, because I do think there are a lot of stupid people, like maybe the people in the chat right now, who are like, oh, no, I totally, I would be in the Proud Boys if I knew how to join a chapter. And then Gavin McInnes gets up there and he starts saying shit like, white men are superior, and as long as other men bow down before us, then they can join us. And then you get those guys who are like, okay, that sounds a little racist. I don't know if you would want to do that. And then they're like, we need to purge our nation of all men who are not at least partially of white lineage. And you're like, all right, I'm out. When you say purge, you mean kill, right? Yes, absolutely. All right, I'm out. But that's what
I think after Charlottesville, you especially have to be quick on that trigger of the I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Like,
And
I thought we were just having a Unite the Right rally. Like,
I'm on the right side of the spectrum. I'm not Antifa or anything. Well, if you're not Antifa, that makes you fascist. It does not. How dare you?
I mean, I just want to burn down national parks. Where does that put me on the political spectrum? I don't know.
Libertarian.
I'm very angry all the time, and I need to burn things. Where do I go for that?
I almost said kleptomaniac. That's not what it is. What is it? It's a
arsonist?
Pyromaniac. Pyromaniac, yes. Who's obsessed with fire.
That could be taken out of context. Just so you know, I was doing a character there. It was a bit.
You don't want to burn down national parks?
No, I love national parks.
I mean, I thought you didn't like anything that was. You're a libertarian, right? No roads, no national parks, no libraries, no NASA.
But I'm a Roosevelt Republican. I love national parks. I'm all about expanding the greatness of our national land.
Now the trains and NASA make sense. They didn't really exist when Roosevelt was around. I will support highways. Absolutely. The cars, the American way.
It's like a originalist in the Supreme Court. They only focus on what happened when the Constitution was written. Yes. Anything past that is just like, we figured it out somehow from this document, so we'll continue on.
Yeah, originalist is a really great way for white men
I'm a Teddyist, where it's like, if it didn't exist then, Homeland Security, fuck this thing. Why do we need it?
I do like originalist.
Ice? What?
In my martini? What? Where's my ice going?
Why do we need a department of ice?
But originalist is a real easy way for white men on the Supreme Court, and also Clarence Thomas, because
reasons.
Clayton Bigsby. To say, let's keep things real white, because that's essentially what it comes down to. Especially Coney Barrett. It's especially kind of the same way.
Well, real quick, let's go on to more of the worst presidential week ever here, because we talked about it a little bit last week after the debate, but there's a couple things that I feel like need a little bit more time discussed here.
Sure.
Like the fact that Trump paid $750 in income tax for 2 years and then didn't for 10 of 15 years that he was paying over the last 15 years, basically.
I wonder what the bill was for Walter Reed for him to be there for the last 4 days.
Oh God! I mean, like, what would it be if it was a real thing that people would get charged for? I mean, because that's the problem. Like, I don't know unless you have white glove insurance, like
Yeah.
you're a king somewhere or a super rich celebrity, like
Or a dictator from Central Africa. who
Yeah,
comes
or something
over.
like- yeah.
The Shah of Iran when he came to get his heart
yeah,
surgery.
either Coney or Kardashian.
Yeah.
They could both get the same sort of thing going on here. You'd have to think it's hundreds of thousands of dollars for that kind of care.
I mean, 4 days worth. I think you're hitting 7 figures.
You might
8
very
room
well
suite with private security and a staff of 10 dedicated to you.
see, but I think that the question would then be if you had the security that you were paying for before you walked in.
Okay, true.
So I mean, like the Secret Service are getting paid regardless of whether or not, like even if Trump just stays at the house all the time, there still has to
They're
be
still
Secret
paying it,
Service.
right. So how? But I mean, a staff of 10 doctors. And that's 10 doctors. That doesn't include the nurses, the support staff, everyone who's just there for him.
Yeah.
10 doctors, including a cardiopulmonologist, which is I think what the guy who kept coming out and saying, I can't talk about it. And I'm just like, you don't do press a lot. All right, good for you, buddy. He's also in the military, so
Maybe he thinks he can run for Congress like Ronnie Jackson is.
oh man, I bet you.
You remember when he gave that press conference like early on? He's like, Trump is incredibly fit. Like
Yeah.
he's basically a muscle man. The suit really is confusing because like when he opened up his button down shirt, it was just a rippling 6-pack of abs. I thought I was doing a physical on Usher.
There was
to be
a
honest.
lot of flowy fabric over
Like,
top of it.
He had
but-
that V. You seen that V before? It's amazing. Anyway,
But this doctor is young and relatively attractive and in the military.
Yeah.
So maybe he does. Maybe he's like, I'm going to get out of here and I'm going to be the next Ben Carson. Only better. Smarter.
yeah, hopefully.
But yeah, he's got like a cardiopulmonary specialist. He's got a cardiothoracic surgeon on call just in case they need to intubate him. Like 10 people on call all the time, plus support staff, plus an 8-room suite. That's got to be 7 figures for the 4 days.
Oh, I'm sure.
And he paid $758 in taxes. In the
Yeah,
last
and
years.
then part of that was the 1 year he really had to pay taxes was when he was doing so well from The Apprentice. So he had to pay like $70 million in taxes or something that year. And then there was a thing because it was around 2008 when Obama basically put it out like you could get back some of the taxes you paid if there is a reason for like a hardship
Losses?
or like or some sort of problem that like this will help you float you. Like it's basically like we'll give you your money back and you can just pay us back later kind of thing unless you've proven that you've done immaculate good with it.
Yeah.
And Trump was just like, no, I'll take all that money back. And then he did. Now he's fighting that in court.
That's the case that the IRS is facing him right now. Yeah.
So, that just needs to remain out there, as well as Melania. Hope she gets better soon.
Absolutely.
No hate on Melania except for she hates Christians apparently because she
Christmas.
Christmas specific. Yeah.
Yes.
I
I don't think she said Christians.
Well, she said like these people, so I assume there's some sort of like the
I
Christian.
assumed that was a race reference. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
She just jumps around a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Like Trump himself. Like
Also, by the way, how did Melania contract it? I assume she's social distancing from Trump at all times. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess being in a closed car.
yeah. I'm just waiting for Barron to start putting out TikToks like Kellyanne's daughter.
Oh God, please do, Barron. Somebody get Barron a TikTok already, or somebody who looks like Barron start a TikTok, and I will follow it anyway. I don't care.
I'm loose on the details. I just need the comedy.
I need the entertainment. Yes, absolutely.
But yeah. So also she didn't understand why people were upset about everything that was going on down at the border.
Yeah.
Like parroting a lot of the same like. They tell the kids that they're going to be killed by drug gangs when asked at the border, like why they're coming up here. And it's like they teach them to say that. It's just like while there might be parents who say like if the police ask you why you're trying to get into America, say the gangs and violence and stuff like that. But I found that you could argue about how violent any part of Central or South America that these people are emigrating from are, but at the same time, like. Why question? Like,
Yeah.
like,
Well, Corey, it's not as if we caused the violence it's down there happening.
yeah, I mean, like, if I kind of feel like if people are fleeing from Venezuela, it's sort of our fault in a way.
It's not like we trained the death squads at the University of the Americas to more effectively murder civilians and thus
or
put
just
them on the
randomly
loose.
at different points during our history decided to just get involved in some sort of coup that turned into like
A right-wing
Yeah.
fascist government coming to power and dropping people out of helicopters.
You remember when we gave weapons to Osama bin Laden?
Yeah.
Crazy times. Things change so
Remember
quick.
when the Taliban was sitting on a couch in the White House meeting
Yeah.
with Dick Cheney? Oh, God. The 80s are crazy.
Memories.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug. All right, so I think that brings us... I cut you off earlier, and I want to give you the chance to talk about... because another misunderstanding I think people were having from Facebook is... I talked to several people who said, well, look at the president. He has socialized medicine. You don't. But look at, if I get sick, I go to the hospital for a few days, and maybe it sucks. Maybe I get on a ventilator, but 98% of people recover from this. It's a 2% death rate, and that includes the very old.
Well, especially now, too. I mean, like, when it first started kicking off, there was a lot more deaths. And that was because people were not, like, it slammed the system. They weren't prepared.
People are dying in hallways.
People have figured out a little bit how to treat people and get them better quicker.
Yep.
Including, like when you get really sick, you get steroids like the president did while he was at Walter Reed.
The reason, Mr. President, the reason you felt so amazing coming out of Walter Reed is the steroids. When you do a round of steroids, you feel amazing. Wait. Just wait 1 week because it's going to be the worst week of your life.
Wait till your B12 shot wears out.
Ooh, dog, it's not going to be good. Yeah. But yeah.
It is.
Well, how about this? Let's just compare. God, let's hope it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But if each of us was to get sick,
right,
what would the scenario be? So for me, I have insurance through my employer, which I pay $111 a month for.
Okay.
So over the course of the year, I would have paid, math, $1,500, a little less than that, $1,400 and some at $111 a month for 12 months.
I mean, it would be like 52 weeks. Oh, a month. I'm sorry. $111 a month.
Yeah, $111 a month.
Yeah, so $1,200.
$1,200.
Yeah.
So I paid $1,200 over the course of the month. My employer's paid about double that. My yearly max, out-of-pocket max, is $1,700. Not including certain extra services.
Yeah.
Like I had to pay something else if I get more than 5 days in the hospital. There's an additional thing that they can't toss on it. So all in all, the max I can be forced to pay is $5,500. And right now I have paid $20 because I had one visit to the doctor. And my outpatient care at the clinic that I went to was covered. They just didn't want to touch my cards or my cash. So they were like, it's good. It's on us. So
it's not worth the $20.
So I have $5,480. So if I was to find myself testing positive and that went worst case scenario and I had to go for a 3-week time in the hospital, emergency room, ambulance ride to the hospital, $800 easy.
Yeah.
Emergency room intake, another $1,500. 3 weeks in the hospital, including 1 week in intensive care, probably looking at $70,000 or $80,000. Intubation and ventilation, probably another $25,000 or $30,000. If I have a visit with a specialist, if they have to give me the D1 that they give everybody who has COVID, I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
Whatever it is, all those special drugs. All in, I'm probably looking at $200,000. All right, so $200,000 in, I have to pay out of pocket $5,480.
Yeah.
Because no matter what, that's my max that I have to pay in a year. Now, if that happens at the end of the year and they roll me over to, if I get in there January 1st, trust and believe, the next $5,500 max is going to apply, and they're going to hit me for the next $5,400. The other thing about that is it's Kaiser, and everything's done under the umbrella of one doctor, essentially one doctor, one service. So if I have a huge bill I can't pay, they'll also work with me, and I can make a payment to one place.
I also worry, though, that just seeing how I'm seeing insurance behave elsewhere, that I'm worried that insurance is going to start claiming a lot of people have to pay for things that they thought they were going to not have to pay for.
And that's a question.
And there's going to be a lot of, like, Do you want to argue with us over $20,000? Because we will run up more than $20,000 worth of legal fees, and we will win. Then you will have to pay that too. So, how much do you want to go round and round with us on this? Like,
but I mean, even the worst case scenario, I'm paying a fraction of the $250,000 bill from this incident. So that is my situation.
Right.
Somewhere between $5,000 and $20,000 out of pocket, probably closer to $5,000. So I'm assuming that as an American, you probably have about the same situation if you were to come up positive.
No.
Okay, well, I mean...
So I'm currently making $130 a week.
Oh, okay.
Which is less than what I need to be able to pay rent and, bills and all that sort of stuff. But I'm figuring out ways to make it work.
Onlyfans.com/legend.
You don't have to tell everybody about this. Those are the people on my secret Snapchat, all right? I don't know why people are so fascinated with my feet, but
I was gonna go with the feet. I was gonna say I bet it's feet pictures. Oh man.
There's a subsection of the internet which is like astounded by like Fred Flintstone feet, and I fit that market very well. So
I think there's probably also a group that would just watch you eat, just fascination with you eating, just a bowl of cereal.
There's like those Chinese like live streaming websites all day where they just watch people like do like inane living things.
There was a girl who makes $150K a month eating.
Yeah.
People tell her to eat stuff. She goes and buys it. She eats it. They pay for the thing she eats, and then she eats it, and they pay her.
I'll just put up a YouTube video of me like eating a pie and see how well it goes to see if it picks up.
Only if it's memeable will that actually get picked up. That's
title: Fat Kid Eats Pie.
Now we're talking. That might get you rich. But anyway, so
yes, I am currently sort of running at a deficit as far as my living is going. But if I were to get sick, hope and pray that I don't go to the hospital and that I can just ride it out here. Because if I do, then I don't have health insurance that I can like lean on right now.
And that means they keep you in the ER as long as possible.
Right. And then any of that is sort of, I negotiate it down, but I'm basically paying whatever the full amount is, which will surely bankrupt me. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't be able to get an apartment out here anymore. And I wouldn't be able to work and film anymore. And I would have to probably go home to Maryland and figure out some sort of job that I can do while I live somewhere where I can afford, like,
move back home.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. And, yeah. So, I mean, like, it could go very wrong. That's absolutely for certain. Here.
Yeah. Also, by the way, at the first inclination that I might be sick, I would go to the doctor because why not? What the fuck am I paying for this for every single month?
Right.
Which isn't true because I also, at the beginning of this, I was like, I feel like the doctor's more dangerous. Now, though, I feel like they figured it out and they are doing the whole check-ins correctly.
They're sort of saying though that from what I'm gathering is that like if you feel like you're riding it out all right, then stay home. Like unless you are certainly having trouble, like don't come to the hospital per se.
I had 4 consultations with my doctor in a weekend, 2 of which were video calls. Mm-hmm. And all told, it was 3 hours worth of me talking to the doctor. So even at that, I wonder what that charge is. They didn't charge me anything because at the time they said, well, you have the right to come in, but if you choose to do a phone consultation, we won't charge you your visit fee. Because they were trying to keep people away. Yeah. Now they actually would still charge me the fee for it. So whatever. But I wouldn't hesitate to call the doctor and then push for a in-person visit. Mm-hmm. Like I do not feel well. I need to come in and be looked at. I need to get tested. We need to dive into this thing. Maybe I need to go to the hospital. I don't know. But I'd rather come you first and then have you. By the
Tell
way,
me
because it's Kaiser. Send me 2 doors down to the hospital, and I'll go check in. You know what I mean? Like, but I wouldn't hesitate. But meanwhile, what you said is, I'm going to ride it out as long as I possibly can at home. Get to the point that Roberto is calling me and saying, hey, we got to go, and I need help carrying him to the car. That's where we are. So
he's literally blue.
Yeah, like, we should probably get him to a hospital.
Yeah.
And then we could do that thing where we drive real fast, or drive real slow through the entrance and just shove him out the back seat into the entryway.
Just put me on a skateboard and wish me luck.
Behind the car.
I mean, like, and you know, the problem is that there are more people than ever who are at the point where I am at than where you are at. The people who I feel like there's a much different attitude of the people who have health insurance. And like, you know, and a lot of people had health insurance through their job, so they thought they were good, and then they lost their job, and now they don't have health insurance anymore. And then, you know, the other thing that you'll find is like, you know, if you're like me, where you go to look into getting health insurance, and then you realize that the cost of all of it is, you know, untenable, really. Like, you know, I can't afford to pay, you know, like, if it was the $100 a month, I could figure out a way to make it work, kind of thing. But if it's the $500 a month, like,
well, Corey, I don't know if you know,
it's a car payment. Like,
there's a pandemic on.
Yeah, I know.
Now's the time to make their money. That's what they're doing.
Right, obviously.
Risk is high.
And I don't know. Like, it's a real tough balancing act. And I think in places in the U.S., like in the Midwest, when there weren't a lot of cases, like, I feel like people were just like, well, it's just never going to come here, so what do I have to worry about it? Yep. It's like, it's eventually gets everywhere. And like, you know, I'm at the very least thankful that a lot of people are wearing more masks than it seems elsewhere. You know, like, even though it seems there's less masks being worn now than there have been before, it's still like...
Well, I feel like there are three groups of people in this current state of the pandemic.
Yeah.
There are people who have insurance and thus feel insulated, generally younger also, but they just generally are like, fuck it. I am tired. The pandemic isn't over just because you're over it, but they're over it. They're ready to go back to life.
Yeah.
And if a restaurant says, hey, we have outdoor seating, the tables are 7 inches apart, and no one has masks on because we're eating and drinking.
Because it's al fresco.
It's al fresco, right? So those are the people who are rushing out and going to restaurants and hanging out with a bunch of people and not realizing the lesson that I learned in high school health class about, like, it's not just about the people you're with. It's about the people who they were with and the people who they were with. And because there's a lag, you have to look at 7 days, not yesterday. So where were you 7 days ago? And where was everybody you're with 7 days ago? But then there are people on the other side who, like you, are ultra cautious because they know that being not cautious could mean the end of their lives, basically. Not just death, but changes that will be astronomical for them.
Yeah.
And both of them are looking at each other saying, you're overreacting to the situation.
Well, I mean, like, and you know, to say end of what I like want to do, and like it seems almost like unfair that, like, for no other reason than we weren't taking this seriously enough, I got sick. Like,
and there's people in the middle like me who have good health insurance, but also have a prefrontal cortex and can say, hey, there are a lot of people who don't, and I am around those people. And even though I have good insurance, we should start acting like, you know, there's a pandemic.
Well,
there's very few of people like me, unfortunately.
I think furthering that point, like, if I love Vegas. I go to Vegas many times a year.
And it's cheap as shit right now.
Yes. And you know what? There's the logic in my head where, like, well, listen, medical people go into the hospital every day with coronavirus people, and they're wearing the mask, they're wearing the face shield, but the mask seems to be doing enough to protect them that not everyone is getting sick at their work at the hospital.
Yep.
So the mask works to some extent. I'm sure there's a lot of...
It works until it doesn't.
I'm sure somebody's going to send me a study where it's just like, well, 20% of nurses are all sick right now. And I'm just like, okay.
Well, not
very
anymore, because
a
lot of them had it already, and now they've recovered.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, it seems like, there's a way to do this safely. Wear the mask, wear a face shield, don't expose yourself outside of your hotel room or something like that. There's a way you could do Vegas, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that there's people out there who are like, well, at what point am I allowed to do it? Because then I'm going to do it.
Right.
Because there's the first third who are just like, I've been waiting for Vegas to reopen. They're open tomorrow. I'm going tomorrow. Yeah. Then there's the other people who are just like, I don't want to go the first day it opens. but I'm gonna let it be open for a month and see how it works.
I'm gonna let that surge hit its peak before I go.
And if I can see for the first month that they're open, like there's no cases and it's perfectly safe and they figured it out somehow, then I'm gonna maybe I'll go. I'll go then.
What
after
about the time that everybody gets lazy and starts being so strict on all the rules? That's when I want to jump in there.
And then there's the people on the extreme end who are just like, there's no way I can rationalize this. Like how in the world do you go and say you can like why would you go? Part of me is like I'd love to just get away. Like I'd love to just go somewhere else and like be under the stars of some other place in the universe right now just to change it a little bit.
Yep.
Because I'm feeling that wanderlust and stuff like that always causes me trouble when I don't listen to it. I could get a hotel in Vegas. I could spend 3 days there writing, but at the same time, I'm paying $50 a night for a hotel room, as well as whatever the rent is back here.
Yeah.
And just so I can not be in the place I was before, but be somewhere different. Now, if you can make the rationalization, like, I'm going to be, I don't have a pool, so this might be a place with a pool I could go to for a weekend.
Yeah.
I could see how that works. Or like you
but
just want to go
to a public pool,
or you just want to go to like a national park or something like that. Sure. You just want to camp. Like you just need to get out of LA. You just need to camp somewhere. Like I could I can see a way you could do it safely. I just don't. Well, it's so worrisome because you don't know where the people around you have been. That's always the concern.
That's the problem. It's the other people. It's not the thing. It's the other people.
Well, and, like, I just got tested negative again, so I'm feeling confident that I'm currently not sick.
Yes.
But, like, there's I feel like multiple times a week opportunities where I'm just like, that might have been it. Like,
yeah.
I'm on the scooter, I'm in the bike lane, and then there's just 5 homeless people, like, surrounding the bike lane, coughing and smoking, and, like, just like I'm trying to like get through, or like, a bunch of people walking one way on the sidewalk and you're just like, there's no way I can cross to the other side. What do I do? Do I just hold my breath for a few minutes while I walk past this crowd?
Yeah.
Like, does that even help? Like, does holding your breath make any kind of tangible difference in your life?
I don't know.
But I think almost all of us are doing it too. Yep. Also, I think I'm throwing off my jaw because when I wear the mask, I like
gritting teeth.
I just do like the strong jaw to like keep
everything tight.
Keep it tight.
Yeah.
So I'm just like underneath the mask. It's just thing for the video people.
But no, I pay for a service.
For people who aren't watching the video, I basically looked like Orson Welles doing the orange routine in The Godfather.
Yes. Yeah. Or any English bulldog that you've ever had. That's all. I pay for a service that gives me travel deals.
Yeah.
And it's funny because today I got a deal. Go to the islands of Greece with all the white buildings. Starts with an M. Anybody? No?
In Greece.
Mykonos, Greece.
Wow.
And it's beautiful. And I could travel all the way there and stay for a week and travel back.
Yeah.
For $700.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, $700 is a lot of money. Then I went into Time Hop and I realized that I had screenshot this exact same deal last year when it was $1,000 for the flight, plus hotel, plus food, plus this is $700 for the trip.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
all in.
Oh man, it would be really nice to go. And I've always wanted to go to Greece and I can go to this nice island. But then I'm like, it's the other people.
Yeah.
It's the other people who see that. And they weren't looking for that deal. They were like, oh, well, yeah, I went to Vegas last weekend. I'm going to go to TJ next weekend. And the weekend after that, I'll go to Greece. Those are the people I'm scared of. I want to go see my family. I want to fly home to go see my family. But also, I'm thinking more about the other people.
Also, I heard a lot of stories, like just specifically when Vegas opened, where wherever in the world was shut down at that moment, people were flocking to Vegas from there.
And it's shut down because the numbers are high.
So if like Georgia shut down because like things were out of control, all the people who were in Georgia were just flying to Vegas so that they could go like drink and party and not have to wear masks and stuff like that. And then they'd go back to where they came from and bring the COVID back again. Like,
I hate human beings so much.
I mean, like
so very much.
Sometimes I go back to the beginning when we were all stuck in the house and we were all trying to find some sort of reason to have to leave.
Yeah.
And it was just like, if we all just do our part and stay in for 2 weeks, we can crush this thing. And nobody did that.
Nobody did. So, and here we are 8 months later.
Ugh.
All right, so we are over an hour already. Let's lightning round these last few topics. So up first, Breonna Taylor.
Yes.
We've talked about this case over the last few weeks. We were very upset a few weeks ago. Was it a few weeks ago? Was it last week? I think it was
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. When the grand jury brought down.
Well, I mean, we were upset in the way that this is exactly how we thought it was going to happen, and we were hoping against hope that for whatever reason this would be different, but it wasn't.
It wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently there's a lawsuit underway right now to release not only the grand jury so part of the transcript was already released. It was the questions asked by the grand jury to the prosecutor.
Yeah.
But they are pushing to have the entire record released. That would include all the evidence that the prosecutor offered, and to allow the grand jurors to talk about what they talked about in the grand jury. Mm-hmm. And that is because the grand jurors were instructed not to look up any more information about the case. And apparently they didn't. Some of them didn't anyway. And then they came out of the grand jury and said, whoa, there's a lot more stuff out there than what was presented to us. And they want to discuss how bad a job the prosecutor did. And it was one. They filed a lawsuit, or someone filed on their behalf. Now it's going to be 2. The likelihood is that more will come out. So, although no justice for Breonna Taylor, it looks as if there may be change in the system, including the elected prosecutor who may now have to face the truth of what evidence he presented in that case, which was probably nothing. Any comment on that?
Oh, I don't know who's calling me twice in a row. So. Yeah.
Got them bitches on his phone. Oh, wait. Is that your OnlyFans line? Should we let you go? I don't want to interfere with your rent money or anything.
We'll be good.
Okay.
Yeah, Roberto laughing at the OnlyFans.
It's just a one-man audience at this point. I'm just trying to entertain Roberto.
Taking pictures of the feet.
Where's my feet, motherfucker?
I paid $20 off each shot.
It's 9 p.m. You know what time that is. That's feet
You know
time.
what time feet time is.
Sorry, Breonna Taylor.
Yeah, Breonna Taylor. Sorry about this. This is very inappropriate sidebars we're having. Yeah, you fucked up when the grand jury starts doing the research after the fact, and you start learning so much about the case. There was a part of me that felt like the OJ jury, probably got out and got to react to it, how the media was covering the thing, and they were just like, wow, we missed all of that.
Yeah, we didn't hear any of it. And that's the thing people forget is the jurors, while they're being sequestered, they only know what's presented. They don't see the 9 hours of media coverage after that.
Well, not only that, but they talk to one another during the days that, throughout the course of the trial, they're talking when they're being sequestered to one another.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to, but they do.
At lunch.
And you don't know. A lawyer can give you a very specific view of a case. And if you were watching the case on television and then watching 5 hours of cable news coverage of how every little play-by-play of it happened, then you have a very different appreciation for it than if you were in the jury box, you know?
Yeah.
So
this
and
drug
in the
dealer
grand
was
jury
at his apartment.
Yeah, and in the grand jury box, even more specifically, because it's not like, somebody else's, there's a defense in there who's trying to get their part of the story out too.
Yeah.
You have to decide between these conflicting, was this just a nun on her way to church, or was this a mass murderer? The two people are going to convince me one or the other. I have to take the evidence that I'm given to make a decision as to which one of these two things the woman is.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's the difference between a scale, which side is heavier, and essentially the thing of I'm adding water in, and just tell me if this gets to the right level. If it doesn't hit the right level, then we don't do anything.
Yeah.
As opposed to, all right, which side is the heavier side? It's so much easier to make a decision and more clear to make a decision than trying to fill a thing and saying, is that enough? Is that enough for a charge? Yeah. So, and again, it should be easy for prosecutors because they could have got charged if they wanted.
Absolutely.
All right. Next part of the lightning round, I'm going to make this super quick. Can we chill on spooky season already, guys? Listen, you already have ruined Christmas for me. I don't like Christmas anymore because it starts, 2 days before Thanksgiving. Yeah. You've ruined Thanksgiving for me because it starts right after back to school.
Yeah.
But at least the people who were into Halloween were like, This is goddamn sacred. We're going to call the first half of this season pumpkin spice season. Then we're going to call it spooky season. And only the back half of the month will we actually celebrate Halloween. But now we're creeping in, and it's already started. And I'm very upset about it. Don't ruin Halloween for me.
So this was a totally new one for me. This must be happening like somewhere where I'm unaware of, because I was watching John Oliver last night and they were talking about it there.
Yeah.
And I was like, I literally looked at Roberto and I looked at Rachel and I was just like, have you ever heard anyone say spooky season before? And there was just a bunch of no's, and I'm just like, I just assumed it was like the guy who writes copy for all the same like her stations.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Just that like, you all got to talk about spooky season because it's October 1st, and people are just like, what the fuck is spooky season? Whatever. It's spooky season.
Spooky season is upon us.
So this happens sometimes too with like greeting card companies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They'll start pushing out the like it became a thing with like when you have two moms, like you can't have Mother's Day for like if you have a lesbian motherhood couple,
you don't give them both Mother's Day cards.
yeah,
on
it's
Mother's
not
Day.
like the same day. So
Right.
it's like, you know, like there was like, I feel like there was a push by like greeting card companies to get people out there to say like, you know, like, so what you want to do is you want to do alternate weekends. Like one is, you know, the weekend before is Mother's Day A, and the weekend of Mother's Day is Mother's Day B.
Yeah.
And then you alternate them year to year so that
Buy two cards, two gifts.
Each
Yeah.
mother gets the Mother's Day thing on actual Mother's Day every alternating year. Like,
Yeah.
it was just like, just shut up. Like this is all to sell more cards. Like you don't give a shit. Number one, you don't give a shit if there's gay couples, other than the fact that you can get two Mother's Day cards out of the deal.
Yeah.
Like you're just happy that these people can get married because they can get Mother's Day and Father's Day cards.
And flowers.
Yeah,
and
and like
presents and the whole
anniversary.
nine.
Yeah, all that.
So
Like-
I really attribute the spooky season thing happening earlier because most people who are adults and have jobs like me forgot that they know October means Halloween, and they're like, I got to get on this boat for Halloween, and then it's the 29th, and you're like, fuck, I forgot my costume, I forgot everything, I don't have any candy, oh, what am I going to do? But they're all at home now,
Yeah.
and they just have nothing going on, so it's just like, oh wait, October 1st, that's Halloween, let's start celebrating.
I'm not gonna. What am I gonna do? Like,
I'm
not
not
gonna
doing shit.
I'm not gonna get a costume. I'm not gonna do anything.
So
like,
we're gonna probably do a remote Christmas party for my work. So I'm probably gonna have a costume.
Halloween party, you mean?
Halloween party. What did I say?
Christmas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. A remote
Yeah.
Halloween party, and we're doing a Halloween costume competition, and we're gonna do Movember. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to figure out how to shave my beard for the costume, and then have it shaved to get a 1 day head start.
You could be Aaron Rodgers.
I don't have the equipment to be. Aaron Rodgers, so I don't know. I don't know if you remember that Olivia Munn picture, but whew.
All right. Do you want to explain the Armenia?
So I
situation?
don't think that I can give it justice in the lightning round, but I'll just say I will do an episode of Rob Explains about the Azerbaijan conflict and what's happening in the Nagorno-Karabakh province. So if you're interested in if you live in LA and you're wondering why the Armenians are out protesting every day, or if you live in New York or Chicago or any major city and you see Armenians out protesting, I'll explain why on an episode this week of Rob Explains. So go check it out there.
They shut down the freeway, and I didn't see one peep on social media about like why is this freeway getting shut down?
You got to be in certain parts. You got to be on real far leftist Twitter. I saw why they were shutting down the freeway.
I was saying like when they were shutting down the freeway for George Floyd, I was seeing a lot of like, this is irresponsible and I can't believe they're doing this, and what if there's an emergency and they're blocking people from getting to work and blah 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 blah, and then all of a sudden the Armos are out on the 101 and it's just like, Godspeed. Like,
I don't know if you know this, Corey.
like,
They're white.
oh, that's why.
I mean, now
So are the George Floyd people for the most part, but fighting for something that wasn't.
yes, yeah. And the Armenians are white now, but as we can clearly see, there's a progression in which 20 years from now Roberto will be white. Right now the Armenians are white, but Roberto is not. 20 years ago the Armenians would not have been white, and Roberto is very far from being white. 50 years before that, you would not have been white, Mr. Irishman.
Yeah.
I would have been,
Yeah.
luckily enough.
Well, the double dip of the Irish and the Catholic.
Oh.
Yeah, like
Terrible.
like not allowed.
What is it? Is it Dead Rabbits? Is that the Catholics? Yeah. Native born. It's 5 points. The Gangs of New York.
Yeah.
I am the actor that you really like, Phantom Thread. Daniel Day-Lewis. I'm Daniel Day-Lewis. You're Leonardo DiCaprio.
Nice.
I don't know if I like that. Let me rethink that. The priest. Anyway, yes, go ahead. We have one last thing.
One last item, and for that we have to take a super quick trip down to Sports Ball.
After you told me you didn't have to do it.
Oh, he's freaking out.
Sports Ball.
Sports Ball.
That was almost as bad as when I get caught off guard and I have to do it. So,
well, at least Roberto doesn't have a mic where he's like, "Oh shit,
yeah,
God damn it!"
But he's also not vamping, and we also did not vamp to fill the time. So I just stared at him and waited for him to click it.
It's great. This whole producer thing is working out wonderfully.
Hey, it's not. I'm not stressed about it. It works for me.
So, 6 years ago today was a very memorable day.
And actually, this is weird because it's not only sports ball, but it's also like
history,
life before COVID, and also so many things we've talked about today are wrapped up in this memory.
Well,
sharing burger cookies with strangers.
You know what's so incredible about this is that it reminds me of, like, I feel like there's a part in everyone's life where they can just fucking get up and go. Like, if they, I used to do this all the time where I was just like, I want cheesesteaks, but I don't want just any old cheesesteak. I want a Philly cheesesteak. And I was just like, I can't go to Philly. It's an hour and a half away. And I'm like, what the fuck do I care? I have nothing to do tonight. So I would drive up to Philly. I'd get a cheesesteak. I'd drive back down. Like back in the day where, gas was like $1 a gallon. And you didn't care about like taking long drives to Philly just for a cheesesteak or anything like that.
Where's In and Alec playing? Yes, I'll drive up and see her. And then I'll be 9 hours late to work the next day. It's fine.
But I mean, like this was one of those moments. So Delman Young, the Orioles are playing the Tigers in the ALDS. The Orioles are down by 3 or down by 2.
Down by 2.
Delman Young hits a double with the bases loaded.
Wait. See, you're burying the lead there.
Yeah.
They're down by 2, and they're down by 2 for at least 2 innings. I want to say that they went up in the Tigers went up in the 5th. We didn't answer in the 5th, and then 6th and 7th passes. And I do believe it was you who said, if the Orioles win this, they could actually wrap it in Detroit.
Yeah.
And because we were so bored because they were down by 2, we're just like, oh yeah, it's only an 8-hour drive. Like,
well, no, that started at Pickles before.
Oh, was it at Pickles before?
Yeah, because we were just sort of like joking around. We were just like,
if they close it out?
Yeah, well, if they close it out, they're not going to play tomorrow. They'll play the next day, and we just have to get to Detroit. But
on Saturday.
Yeah, and then we started doing how much is the flight to Detroit? And then we're just it's only an 8-hour drive. We could probably just drive there. And then these conversations just sort of happened on the background as the game was going on. But the Orioles were losing, so it wasn't as big of a deal.
Well, they got up early in the game and then got down, and then got down further. And it's like, all right, now it's the 8th inning.
Yeah.
Down by 2. Things are not looking promising.
Right.
But go ahead, sorry.
Delman Young hits a double.
First, get a single.
Yeah.
And then I forget who was on second. He gets on. Who's on second? What's on third?
I don't remember. JJ Hardy's on first though.
I remember Hardy was on first because I remember the call. But so first single, and it's like, all right, guys, calm down. It's playoff baseball in Baltimore, so everybody loses their minds, and then immediately it's like, okay, another single. All right, yeah. And then JJ Hardy gets on, and it's like bases loaded, and then losing their mind because Delman Young in the years before that had always been clutch in the playoffs. And then released by the team that he was clutch.
Well, because he made awful decisions. That's really the problem. He was a good player who made awful decisions and couldn't be trusted to stay out of trouble.
Yeah.
So I don't remember all the awful indiscretions that he got involved in, but I know that one of them in particular was really awful, and I must have just blocked it out of my mind. But he had a double, and I've never felt unsafe at Camden Yards.
No.
Like, I've always felt like it was, it was built to withstand a tank or something like that. But the stadium was shaking. It was like violently shaking with people jumping up and down and screaming. And the group chat started almost immediately. Like, we got to go to Detroit and finish this thing off. And then you also have to consider, just for the baseball fans who know what I'm talking about here, that was Scherzer, that was Verlander, and that was Price in the
In
3
Detroit.
games.
Yes.
So we faced 3 of the best pitchers in the majors.
And 1-2
Probably
in
of this
Baltimore.
era.
Yeah.
Like
1-2 in Baltimore. And then we had to go to Detroit.
Yeah.
And we said when we went, like, we're here for game 1 or game 3. That's it. We got to go home tomorrow.
we all had work the next day or something.
Let's see what. Yeah, we literally had work the next day. Let's see what. No. EP had work the day we got back on Sunday, and then the rest of us were working Monday.
Right.
Oh God, that was an awful weekend. I mean, it was awesome, but it was also just terrible.
But
Because I got off late Friday. That's when we left.
I mean, I wish more adventure was in my life. Like, especially, I wish Corona wasn't here and that somebody would just be like, hey, you got to get to Santa Fe. And I'm just like, I'll be there.
Sure.
Whatever. Just let's go.
Let me map out the charging stations.
So, yeah, there will never be a day where the Delman Young double doesn't come to my mind, at least in a little bit.
And we again, feeling unsafe. Never felt unsafe at Camden Yards, but as J.J. Hardy was rounding the bases, and I think that was the first time I ever heard Corey shout, "Run, you son of a bitch, run!" The second time would be at my 30th birthday in Vegas.
That was before this, though.
Was it? Oh,
yeah.
okay, so this was the second time. The first time was when you shouted at the car dealer. The first time.
Oh, my God. Those are both 6 years ago, though. So your birthday was first because that was January.
No. It would have been 6 years ago. So this would have been October, and then the next birthday is when we went to Vegas.
No. Because you went out there for Dirty 30.
No, yeah, you're right. So this
would have been 6 years ago in January.
Twice in a year, I heard Corey shout, "Run, you motherfucker, run!" at somebody who was just trying to do their job. And he crossed the...
J.J. Hardy with a beautiful slide, though. And then...
But being in Detroit and feeling unsafe, like, oh, we won. Oh, let's get the fuck out of here. And trying to get back to the car, like the buses that were free, kind of, and like just hop on one.
Drop you off like halfway up the...
And then we realized we had to walk to that dark parking lot full of Detroit Tiger fans where we thought the car might be vandalized.
And the wonderful experience we had playing at the old Tiger Stadium.
Yeah.
And watching the Ravens and the Colts, I think, play right before the baseball game.
Yeah.
Went to a bar for that one. That was all very cherished
And
memories.
the Detroit fans were very nice. They
Yeah.
left us a very cute note and wished the team luck in the rest of the playoffs, which we then completely wasted in a 4.
I will put in the notes the original episode from that because we recorded after that whole experience, and it's worth listening to. It's a very cherished memory. And then real quick, super fast before we get out of here and we're still in sports ball, I would like to say something to the Ravens fans. Or to the people who don't know how the Ravens work.
Yeah.
We beat the Washington professional football team. That's what we're supposed to do. We lost to the Chiefs. I have a theory that once a year, you never know what game it's going to be, but once a year, John Harbaugh and the coaching staff sort of must have like this thought process going in where it's just like, we'll wing it and we'll be fine. You ever have one of those tests where you're like, I'm not going to study, but I know everything I need to know about French history. It's just gonna bog me down. I'll just go in there and wing it.
And they always seem to choose the game where it's like, hey, the rest of your GPA, this test.
Tennessee in the playoffs. Let's just fucking wing it. Let's figure. Harbaugh, I think Harbaugh is the right coach for this team. I think he's good. Sometimes he just loses us a game, and I think that's sort of what happened there because it seemed like everything was aspiring against us to win that game. But I'd much rather have Harbaugh than like Anthony Lynn because like I watch Charger games and I'm just like, oh, you got 2 minutes to tie this game up. You guys got this. And then they run the worst 2-minute drill I've ever seen in my life.
You kneeled twice during the 2-minute drill. What are you doing?
You kneeled in a set of spikes. But I'll watch like really awful coaches and I'll just be like, holy shit, thank God we don't have to deal with this at the very least. We don't have to deal with Bill O'Brien, like we're good. Like,
and I talked to a Chiefs fan who basically expressed the same thing. Like they did really well, but we never know when Andy Reid's just going to have the game where he ruxins himself and he's like, all right, here's what we're going to do. Statue of Liberty play to the liberation of Puerto Rico. No one's going to be expecting it. And you're like, Andy, I could just throw it downfield. What do you want? No. This is gonna work. You're like, no,
Well,
we don't need all that.
The other problem with Kansas City is they have 5 incredible weapons.
Yeah.
Like better than almost any other teams. Like their 5th option is almost better than a lot of teams' first. So like it's one of those like, yeah, we could keep Tyreek Hill from catching the ball, but then you're just leaving Hardman or Allaire or Mahomes to do whatever the fuck they want, and like or Kelsey. Like what are you gonna do?
And while Ed Reed used to cover the third of the earth that wasn't covered by water, we don't have Ed Reed anymore. So unfortunately.
Anyway, that's it. Just chill out, Ravens fans. It'll be fine. We'll still be in the playoffs, and then Harbaugh's already had his fucking game. I feel like this season with the Chiefs one. So hopefully
we'll have another chance in the AFC Championship to lose to the Chiefs again, so they can go on to the Super Bowl.
I hope not. Anyway, if you want more half-assed Ravens content, you know where you could go.
Where's that?
OhTheAnthem.com. Core to TheAnthem.com. Oh, The Anthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the listener line, 443-219-7595.
What's that number again?
443-219-7595. You can find more of me at my website, CoreyBakerFilmmaker.com, Facebook.com/CoreyBakerFilm, at LegendCB5 on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Yeah, that's about it right now. Stay tuned.
That's it? That's all you got?
Yeah, I'm trying to keep an air of mystery about it.
Okay, cool. You got the camera on me? Get ready.
This one
Here
will
we
take
go.
a while.
So, you can find me on all your social networks at Robert N. Cheek. Make sure that you check out robertncheek.com, where you can find links to all of my all the work that I'm doing, including the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Rob Cheek, where you can find the Everyman Movie Review, 2 episodes per week. Guns Akimbo came out on Thursday. I forgot to put an episode up on Sunday, but I made it just before midnight. So the newest episode is up, which is I've already forgotten. It's up there. Motherless Brooklyn is coming on Thursday, so keep an eye out for that. And I have episodes pre-done for the next 8 weeks, so you're going to make sure to check that out. If even that many days, we do the Oh, The Anthem podcast once a week. That's too many days in between. I do Everyman Movie Review twice a week. Still too many days in between for you? Great. Rob Explains. Every single day, new content. You can check it out anchor.fm/Rob Explains or wherever you get your podcasts. But it's a daily trivia podcast. It's a conversation, discussing, explaining cool, random, and interesting things. The last few days, we've done stuff like Agent 355, George Washington's Teeth, where they really would. They weren't. Spoiler alert. A whole bunch of really fun stuff.
It was great stuff, too. I especially enjoyed you dipping into the Supreme Court for these.
For the last 2 episodes. Yeah. We talked about the Supreme Court. We're going to be talking about why people might be justified in questioning a U.S. vaccine program over the next 3 days.
Can I throw in one other thing? I know you did the perfect game in baseball like last week or something like that. But I feel like, to me, the perfect game of all perfect games was the one that wasn't, with Armando Galarraga and Jim Joyce. Like he had that perfect game going into the final out of the game, and the ball came into Miguel Cabrera's glove before, and they called him safe.
Yes,
and it was like the perfect game that wasn't. That's one that I feel like could have, doing it on LSD or being hungover like David Wells.
Throwing no on LSD.
Yeah.
Dog,
those are good ones, but I love Armando Galarraga's story. That sticks with me forever. Like it's good when you remember the name of the referee who fucked him.
So here's what I think I should do. I should do a once a week sports. So I will create a list. You give me your favorite sports moments, and we will do a once a week sports episode. So,
okay.
But you can find that at Rob Explains everywhere. I'm also now streaming on Twitch. If you like Warzone, Call of Duty, you can find me on twitch.tv/Robert and Cheek. And I have a lot of podcasts or a lot of episodes up there. I'm doing highlights. I'm doing a lot of stuff. And of course, a big thank you to Roberto for coming in and being our producer. You can find him on all social networks at RTOAZN, including Twitch, where when I remind him, he does go live on his stream as well. So you can find videos there. But I set the goal of doing content, new content every single day. I am averaging over the course of the last 2 weeks, 1.5 hours of new content every single day. That's all for you. I'm trying to inspire these guys. So send them a message. You can send it to Corey@OhTheAnthem.com. You can send us a voicemail or a text to 443-219-7595 and let them know you want more of their content. RTOAZN on all your social networks, at LegendCB5, everywhere as well. At Robert N. Cheek.
Listen,
I don't need to hear it, all right?
The feet pics on the OnlyFans takes up a lot of my time, so that's all I can say.
I keep forgetting about the OnlyFans account. Oh, well, all right.
Well, I think we've done good here today.
We've done something. I don't know if it's good. But as always, you're listening to the The Anthem podcast, part of the The Anthem Digital Network. For Corey and Roberto, this is Rob. Have a great week, everybody.
Bye.